afternoon, guys. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Blockchain and Beyond. As always, I'm your host Razan. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing something a little bit differently. So I'll be breaking down one of the threads I've written on Twitter. And the idea behind me writing these threads is to collate a lot of information and write it down as concisely as possible while still getting across the main points. So today, I'm going to be breaking down a project called Wormhole. And Wormhole isn't exactly a blockchain itself, but it's a protocol which is enabling communication between 10 plus different blockchains. And this includes like Ethereum, Solana, Binance Smart Chain. Soon they'll be including Algorand within that. But then they also include platforms like Phantom and Avalanche, and also Terra Classic, Terra 2.0, and also Akala, which is, I believe, a Polkadot parachain project. So, they're actually integrating a lot of different protocols or blockchains into their system. So, the hardest part about understanding this is how they actually make this happen. So, this comes down to the architecture of Wormhole. So, Wormhole actually creates smart contracts on each of these blockchains. So, each of the blockchains that they service, they have a set of smart contracts. So they will have smart contracts on, in the example, if you're watching on YouTube, is Ethereum, Solana, and Terra. And they'll have a core contract which um, which can do a number of things. So you can actually emit a verification, and you can also verify the verification ID. So this is useful a bit later, but the idea is that they deploy smart contracts on each chain, and these smart contracts can send messages to the Guardian network. And the Guardian network is a separate network which they run, which has 19 validators, which they have a list of on their website, and they actually verify data such as transaction confirmations. And once the data has been verified, the data gets stored as what they call a verifiable action approval, or a VAA. And then these relay nodes, or the nodes within the Wormhole network or the Wormhole architecture, can send these VAAs to the target chain. So what this means is, if I'm on Ethereum and I want to carry something out on Solana, I can execute the smart contract. The smart contract will write this data or send this data to the Guardian nodes of the network. The Guardian nodes will verify this, and once it's been verified, they will then send this data to Solana, which can be picked up by another set of smart contracts. And this data confirms that the transaction on Ethereum actually happened, so another set of actions on Solana can actually be carried out now. So it enables interoperability between all of these chains, allowing for, quite seamless collaboration between platforms and decentralized applications. But one big problem that they need to solve, or that they are solving, is the idea of liquidity. So to facilitate the transfer of these tokens, you kind of need liquidity on both sides. So if I want to take Ethereum on Ethereum and wrap it to Solana, there needs to be assets on both sides. So I will supply assets on the Ethereum side, but someone or the protocol will need to supply Ethereum on the Solana side for me to convert to, right? Otherwise, there won't be a way for me to bridge my tokens over, right? So if I supply the tokens on Ethereum, it will go through the smart contracts. Once the transaction gets confirmed, it then actually makes its way onto Solana. And then on Solana, the smart contract will actually send me a transaction which includes this wrapped Ethereum. So someone needs to put that wrapped Ethereum there in the first place to enable this transfer. And usually the people who enable this will actually get some kickback. So they'll actually, receive some sort of fees, or some sort of, incentive to actually help promote people providing liquidity. So at the current moment in time, Wormhole has about $500 million worth of assets locked up. And before the UST peg earlier this year, that was about $4.5 billion. And their liquidity is split across all of their chains. However, it's primarily focused around Ethereum, which has about 80% of the liquidity, and then the rest of the 20% is split across Binance Smart Chain, Terra Classic, Polygon, Solana, Avalanche, Aurora, and Phantom. And then there's a few smaller projects such as Oasis, Celo, Karura, New Terra, Akala, and Clayton, which have a lot less liquidity on there. So what that basically means is trying to transfer assets from one of those to another will actually be a bit more difficult. However, transferring assets from, say, Ethereum to Binance Smart Chain will be a lot more easy to do. And there's sort of a relationship between the total value locked over liquidity and the sort of demand for the services. So the more liquidity that's locked into these platforms actually, promotes the idea that people actually want to use these platforms. So, the more liquidity there is, the more demand there is for these services, the more people want to be able to, transfer their assets across these different chains. And now we can sort of talk about some of the use cases of this platform. So the first one is bridging. So Wormhole actually already have a bridge, which you can see on screen if you're watching on YouTube. And you can exchange tokens from, a lot of these blockchains, Akala, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, and so on, to equivalent token on another blockchain, which is one of their key offerings. And they also allow you to actually transfer NFTs. There's a few limitations to which NFTs can be transferred, such as it has to be NFTs with a supply of one, but that's something that will actually develop over time. And the projects or creators who move to different chains can actually benefit from using this platform because it actually streamlines the whole process. So I remember when Terra Classic, or what is now Terra Classic, NFT projects moved to Algorand, a lot of people had to write, specialized software to actually support the transfer of the tokens of the NFTs onto this new platform. And we've got a second use case, which I call a cross-chain decentralized exchange. And what I've written is, say there's an LP farm, so a liquidity provider farm on Solana in the ETH USDC pool with a great APR, but you only hold these assets on Ethereum. So on Ethereum, you hold Ethereum and USDC, but on Solana, there's a great opportunity including these two tokens, right? So using ETH and USDC. So on a cross-chain decentralized exchange, you can actually bridge your assets over, stake in the farm, get rewards, and once the farm is done, or once you're done farming, you can actually bridge back your assets and your rewards back to Ethereum. So that means it can actually solve some liquidity crises, as liquidity is now cross-chain. Liquidity can interact with platforms on many different blockchains, which actually gives a lot more opportunities for people to actually get involved with the various ecosystems. So yeah, to kind of wrap it up, I think it's a cool project. It solves a lot of problems of being stranded on a single platform, especially for creators and tokens, and it also helps resolve fragmented liquidity across a lot of these chains. Um, and then they're also planning on releasing on Algorand soon, which I think is really awesome because Algorand is such a fast blockchain, and it will actually increase adoption. It will show people what the capabilities of Algorand are, the speed, the low transaction costs. That will actually promote the blockchain a lot more. And yeah, that's basically all I had for today. As always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them. But yeah, as always, thank you, and until next time, goodbye.